Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Angie, and today we're going to go through Credit Cards 101 and how you can incorporate that with your cash stuffing. And is this type of system for you? Will it fit your lifestyle? We're going to hop right into it. So this is my little outline, and this is going to be a nice short and sweet video. So just sit back, relax, and let's get into it. Okay, so I thought I would first go through my story and how I got into the credit card game of owning a bunch of different credit cards and just kind of playing around with points and travel benefits, etc. So I went to college. I did not accrue any student loans because my undergrad was completely covered by scholarships. And when I did go to grad school, my parents helped me out with paying for it, but then the last few semesters were actually on me. And if you go back on my channel, I did end up paying that out of pocket, and I paid it off when I did the 100 envelope challenge. And a little side note, fun fact, I did put it on a credit card for a sign-up bonus, and then I was able to pay it off and not accrue as much interest. So anyway, I did get my first credit card when I was 17, and I definitely had a lack of knowledge about, what credit cards mean and what it means to accrue interest, all the stuff. So I definitely accrued a balance on these cards, and I paid most of it off, but I will be fully transparent. I do have about $3,500 left in credit debt just from poor decisions in my past, being young, my brain not being fully developed. That's kind of what that was about. And then, interest accruing and me not knowing exactly how that all worked. So I ended up educating myself, and that number doesn't scare me because I do have an actionable plan for how I'm going to pay that off. So I'm not worried at all. I'm actually really excited to tackle it because I do cash stuff, and I'm actually set up for a cash stuffing video after this. So yeah, I'm actually really excited to kind of get into that and pay it off. So what is my why and why I use credit cards? So the first reason is it actually, when you use credit, you build a credit score. And I'm 24 years old. Eventually I'm gonna have to, move out, apply for a mortgage, all that stuff. I want to have a good credit score, so I did practice in having credit cards. And even though I do have that 3,500, I actually have a pretty good credit score. I could probably insert a picture up here somewhere. It goes up and down sometimes because I do apply for new credit cards, and kind of the only reason why my credit score isn't going up as much is because of the age of my credit. And I think one more thing, but I'll put a picture. That's sort of the main reason and the foundation as to why I'm doing any of this and why I even have a credit card. But the reason why I have about 10 credit cards. And the reason why I do that is because it's kind of a hobby for me to kind of play the credit card game. And I'll explain it a little bit later in the video. But the reason why I do that is because some cards are good for travel, some cards get you cash back, and then some cards have point perks or multipliers, where if you go ahead and you spend on groceries on one card, it'll give you 3 times the miles instead of the normal 1 mile per dollar spent. And that builds up for my travel, and I personally love to travel. That's kind of my why. But let's go into how an actual credit card works, so that if you are in debt currently, or you're not in debt and you don't want to be in debt, here's how you're not going to be in debt when you use a credit card. So here's how it works. You have the opening date. So let's say it's the beginning of the month. So today is November 1st, actually. Happy November. And it's, November 1st is kind of like a soft launch of Christmas, so Merry Christmas. So November 1st, you're going to have 30 days with your statement, so it ends on November 30th. After that last day, it's called your closing date. So any money that you spent in that period, you have about 21 to 25 days to pay it off. So that's your grace period, the 21 to 25 days. The last day of your grace period is your actual due date of when that payment is due. So sometimes credit cards will kind of trick you and be like, oh, here's the minimum balance you have to pay in order to say you paid your card on time. However, if you pay the minimum balance on your card, you will accrue interest on whatever else you spent that you did not pay off. So the important thing to take away here is that your due date, you want to have a 0 balance on your card. One other thing that's super important to note is that when you have your opening date and your closing date, the day of your closing date, so going back to November 1st through the 30th, the 30th is your closing date. However, that is the start of your next opening date, because your grace period only accounts for the month before and the cycle beforehand. So if that's a little confusing, that's totally fine. It took me a while to get it. So that's kind of the main part about credit cards that I feel is helpful to know if you plan on getting credit cards. And you don't have to start with just getting 10 credit cards and trying to keep track of them all. I started with just one. That's what I would recommend to you. So how I personally track my credit cards. So Obviously, I cash stuff, so I have binders like this with different types of envelopes inside of it. So this is my business binder, for example. So like I have all these categories that I know I'm going to spend from. If I spend from a category that I don't have an envelope for, I have a miscellaneous envelope. So that covers that. So I have cash envelopes. I have a whole cash envelope system. You can subscribe to my YouTube if you want to follow along with that. But I also have a spending tracker. So this spending tracker I actually sell in my shop. So I have, this is specifically for credit cards. I have what cards I'm tracking. Obviously, if you have one credit card, that's the one you would track. I have multiple, like I said. I go through and I track all my purchases, maybe like a few times a week. I also do this for my boyfriend because I have envelopes for him. And I go through maybe like a few times a week or once a week, and I just kind of keep track of what I'm spending. That way I know like, oh, here's the money I have in my envelope, and I kind of know not to go over it. And if I do go over it, I find some other way to make up for it. So that's how I track my credit card expenses, so I don't get myself into any more debt than what I'm already in. So that's basically self-explanatory. I feel like I don't need to explain that a bit more, but if you have any questions, definitely comment them down below. Now, is this for you? So if you like to travel and you want to get miles to put toward your flights or your hotels, whatever you want to do, maybe you just want cash back, so you're getting a little bit of like a discount, if you will, on your purchases, you might be thinking of getting a credit card. So is this for you? The first thing that I want you to do is a grocery store test, and maybe you could do a grocery store or just a regular store. I want you to make a list of the things that you want to buy. I want you to go through that store, go through every aisle, and make sure that you are not getting anything that is not on your list. You are going to be building some shopping discipline before you even get the credit card. So this is what you're spending out of your debit card or cash, whatever you're using. This is the test that I want you to do, and I don't want you to do it once. I want you to do it multiple times until you feel comfortable that you are not going to spend over your budget, because a credit card is going to say you have a $5,000 spending limit. That does not mean you have $5,000 to spend. That is just a limit they give you just in case, like, for instance, when I had to put the washer and dryer on my card, I obviously need a bit more of a balance to cover that and then fully pay it off. And I'm a huge fan of credit cards, but I will say they like to trick you with that kind of thing where they give you the minimum balance due, they give you a high spending limit, and that's how people find themselves in debt. That's how these bureaus make money. So that's kind of the warning that I'm giving you. So I want you to practice this. I want you to build that shopping discipline. I want you to start tracking your expenses and making sure they're all paid off by the end of the month. And that way you're building that consistency and you can build trust with yourself to end up getting a credit card. Now, my personal credit card strategy that I am going into these next few months is, I didn't write this on here, but I totally forgot to get into this. I'm currently using my City Strata Premier because I did open it in time for the credit card bonus. And me and my mom have been saving up since the beginning of the year to buy Louis Vuitton bags, our first ever Louis Vuitton bags, or at least my first own. So that way, when I actually go to use that card and I spend it on the Louis Vuitton bag, I have the money to pay it off. This is something I've been saving for, and I'll still get that bonus. So to me, the way that I like to think about it is like, I'm probably going to buy like a $3,000 bag. How can I make that money work for me? That is kind of my love for this hobby. How do I make my money work for me? And I'm going to get 60,000 miles that I'm going to put toward my very special Emirates business class flight that I'm going on with Joe when we go to Montenegro. So I'm building experiences. I'm building a fun travel experience through just spending what I would normally plan on spending anyway. I'm not overspending. When I see that, oh, I need to spend $3,000 or $4,000 in 3 months to get this bonus, I am not, because that's what credit cards will give you sometimes when you apply. I am not thinking, what can I spend $3,000 or $4,000 on that I wouldn't normally be spending? In the past, what I've done is I put my grad school on a credit card. Sometimes I'll ask my parents if I could put the electric and water bills on my card because we got to pay those anyway. So that's how I get my sign-up bonuses. If you have, I know Rent has a really good credit card called the Built credit card. They get really good points on rent. Anything that I can put on my card in terms of what's like a fixed expense, I will do that to get the bonus. That comes later on. You don't have to worry about that, but I did want to dip into kind of like what my strategy is, and that kind of ties into my why. That's how I play the credit card game. I sign up on credit cards based on the bonuses. I get 60 to 80,000 miles or 80,000 points, and I'll convert that into miles. But you can obviously convert your points and miles into anything. You could do gift cards, cash back. I personally would say that you get the most bang for your buck if you convert it into miles, because when you convert it back into cash, you're not getting the same types of benefits, because $300 in cash back could potentially equate to way more miles that you would spend on like a hotel or flight. So that's kind of my story. That's kind of like the first like tip of the iceberg of credit cards. Let me know if you guys want a little more of like an intermediate credit card video to kind of follow up on this. Like, you know, once you do your grocery test, how do you see which credit card is the right fit for you? But I wanted to keep this short and simple and kind of just get a general understanding of credit, why I do it, what my strategy is, and my backstory, and is this right for you? If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'm close to 1,000 subscribers and I'm just really excited for it. And yeah, I do a lot of cash budgeting on this channel, so you can kind of see my system, and I will be filming an unstuffing where I unstuff the cash from my envelopes to pay back my credit card. So if you like this type of content, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!